Everybody, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Chris Buckman.
Here.
Brandon Earl.
Here.
Andrea Kreifels.
Here.
Jason Newberry.
Here.
Deanna Garver.
Here.
Tom Henning. Here. Pat Zika.
I heard her. There she is. Okay, next thing on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. We need to make a little adjustment there.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda at bullet point 2.3.1 to add Linda Chase with the FFA trip.
Hopefully you all saw that email today sent from Adam, so it was just kind of a little late to get it on the agenda, so.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay, moving on. Recognition of patrons, Adam, we have anybody sign up top? Okay. First discussion item, the audit,
Yes,
action pack.
the famous audit. Harold is here. Visits us once a year to give his audit report, and so I will give the floor to him.
Good evening. If you have the audit in front of you, if you turn past the table of contents to the independent auditor's report, this is actually our part of the financial statements. The financial statements being your financial statement. Little change in how this is worded compared to previous years. We now give our opinion right up at the front, and then tell you what your responsibilities are and what our responsibilities are. So, because this is a matter of public record and you opt out of generally accepted accounting principles, and we have to say that you're not in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So actually that third paragraph down where it says unmodified opinion on a regulatory basis of accounting is what you're looking for. And that is that we feel that the financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide. We talked a little bit about what the Kansas Municipal Audit Guide is compared to generally accepted accounting principles and generally accepted auditing standards. What your responsibilities are. Then we get into our responsibilities on page 2, in which we're supposed to exercise professional judgment, identifying risk of material misstatement of financial statements, obtain an understanding of internal control and test those controls, evaluate the appropriateness of accounting principles used, and to conclude, in our judgment, that there are no conditions or events that would lead you to believe that you're not going to be going on as a continuing concern, i.e. you're not going to default or anything like that. So that's what that part of it's at. There's quite a bit of information in the back of the financial statements behind the footnotes, and that's what the other matters talk about, is basically a report on supplemental information in which we indicate that schedules 1, 2, 3, and 4 we feel are also fairly stated. We do the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, which means we have to give you another opinion on that, and it's back in the back. And then on page 3, we also present the prior year information in the back, and we're telling you that that's also fairly stated in accordance with the regulatory basis of accounting. So we turn to page 4 and 5, you get to see a summary of all the funds that the school district has, and basically takes you through the broad categories of beginning unencumbered cash, receipts, expenditures, and ending unencumbered cash, and then we work our way back by adding all your payables back to come up with what the ending cash is. And from last year to this year, you were almost at 7.8 million in terms of total funds. And at the end of the year, you were just under 7.1 million. Most of that drop occurred in your supplemental general, your capital outlay, and your special ed, where the most drops were. The outstanding encumbrance accounts payable, from an accrual basis standpoint, i.e. we add all the payables that we possibly can, but we don't add any receivables. Okay, so if you look at federal grants, it shows, which is about, not quite, just a little less than half the page down. It shows $21,919 negative balance. That's due to the fact that you did have a receivable there. Federal government and the state have both gotten really good about telling you to spend the money and then they send it to you. Unfortunately, that creates, at the end of the year, being behind the ball. So in 2023, you received about $50,500 just to catch up, because some grants were had a little cash left. Some of them were, one of them in particular was way under the KDHE grants. But it's all right from the standpoint that there's federal money there and it's more or less guaranteed. So that's the reason we're able to say that we don't have a statutory violation. And on page 6 and 7, we start getting into the footnotes. Most of them are pretty much stuff that you're used to seeing and are basically for someone who's not as informed about what the school district does. It does talk about the basis of accounting, being the regulatory basis of accounting, and that you pass a resolution each year to do that. Talks a little bit about your budget information and what qualifies. About the middle of the page, adjustments to comply with legal max. That's where you guys do all that hard work trying to figure out what your budget is, and then in September the state tells you what it's going to be. That's what that amounts to. Qualifying budget credits is there's some money that you get that qualifies as a credit or adds to your budget authority. They're basically reimbursements, grants, that type of thing that you didn't budget for. Okay. Unfortunately, if you have ad valorem tax that goes up in 1 year, that does not qualify for a budget credit. So you're kind of stuck with carrying it over to the next year, is what you're doing there. Deposits and investments. One of the things on a statutory basis is we have to make sure that you're adequately secured, and at the end of the year you were, either through depository security coverage or because collateralized securities by the bank have been pledged in your name. Page 8, I'm still on, but down at the bottom, note F. After telling you all this time we don't record receipts, there is one receipt we do record, and that's mandated by the state, that the money that they wait to give you in July that's for June, we have to show on the financial statements. So we do include a receivable for $399,104 for general fund and $146,889 for the supplemental general. I always thought this was kind of interesting because years ago the state was in trouble. So they said, we can't get the money out fast enough, so we want you to record it, but we're not going to send it to you. I don't know what their excuse is anymore, because they got plenty of money, they should be sending it to you on time, but they never do. They just gotten into this habit and they don't seem to want to get out of it. Page 9, your long-term debt. You went from $24,400,000 down to $22,600,000. Most of that was the payments, some of which were basically the Series 2021 bond being released and the Series 2011 bond being paid off. So that's part of the reason that's that way. If you look at the subsequent years' payments, you're sitting at $2,400,000 for 2023. And pretty much that's, that it starts to go up, and then you hit the 5 years where it's going to be obviously 5 times that. But that $2,400,000 is about $200,000 more than it was last year. So your debt payments are going to go up. Okay. We show your transfers on page 10, and then we get into page 11 is your defined benefit plan, your CAFERS plan. And as I tell you each year, you go down to that last paragraph and it shows that you have a net pension liability of $11,652,596. And believe it or not, that's down quite a bit from the year before. But it's not a debt that you're ever going to recognize. But basically, it changes with every year. The persons that actually go on retirement and the new people that come on, they're paying, and the other people are getting paid. It's basically the state's way of taking a liability for a pension plan that they're responsible for and just dividing that amongst all the school districts, the cities, and the counties. so that their books don't look so bad, is what it really amounts to. So, you're never gonna see this unless you go to a GAAP basis statement, then you do have to book it. But, on a statutory basis, you do not book that amount. Page 12, compliance with Kansas statutes. We did have, one violation, and that's the Recreation Commission and the Recreation Commission employee benefit funds both exceeded their budget authority. And part of the reason why was you had money left over from the year before, so you tried to spend it out, but you didn't raise the budget quite high enough, so it ended up being that you spent more than your budget for those two particular funds. And as we discussed, the KDHA grant has a negative cash balance, but that's not a statutory violation because you have funds that are gonna cover it. Page 14 and 15 is your actual budget. And the main thing on this page is the far right column. You don't wanna see anything that does not have a bracket around it or a zero. Because that means that you're over budget. So again, if you look at Recreation Commission and Recreation Commission employee benefits, those are the two that don't have brackets around them. So you've overspent on those budgets. And again, the reason why is that you had money left over from the year before that you should have budgeted along with what you're gonna send that year. Yes.
Is that on us or is that on the rec commission?
Well, it's kind of on you from the standpoint you send them the money, okay? And you just should have budgeted a little bit higher because you had money left over and you're trying to give them all to them in 1 year, okay? So if there's money left over, you wanna make sure you budget what you think you're gonna send them plus that money that you have left over from the year before, okay? Page 16 and 17 is the general fund. And in terms of revenue, it's really not a big change. And what there is because general state aid was down some, propped up a little bit by the special ed aid that actually ends up gets turned around, gets transferred to special ed out of general fund. But to help keep those expenses down a little bit from the year before, your school administration salaries were down slightly. Mostly due because those certified salaries are now being charged over to supplemental. And last year, some of them were charged general and some of them were charged supplemental, but now they're all over in supplemental. And your transfers were down. You didn't make one to capital outlay. That was one of the big ones. And although at risk was up, it still wasn't up as much as what capital outlay went down and also what special ed went down because they're both down. Supplemental general, your cash receipts there are down slightly from last year. Part of that's due to the ad valorem tax being a little bit less than what it was the year before. Your state aid actually helped to offset some of that to some extent. And as far as your expenses go, you were up slightly. I think mostly that was due to the fact that, we had school administration salaries coming over here and all of it instead of just part of it. So that's what offset that. After that, let's go to page 24, 25, capital outlay, we talked about it. And as you can see, it went from almost 1.6 million down to just a little over 1 million. And again, most of that is due to the transfer from general fund not being made this year, one of the past, but not this year. And your expenses were up slightly, in the facility acquisition and service area. Those two amounts were up, so that's the reason overall your capital outlay fund went down by $34,000. And then there is special ed on page 30 and 31. There's a slight dip in your total revenue, but a slight increase in your expenditures overall. And as a result, you went down $384,000. You were down some last year, but that means for 2 years in a row, you've kind of eaten up some of the funds that you had left over to go into the next year in that particular fund. After that, I think we go back to page 39 and 40. And here you get to see all the federal funds and the KDHE grant. You can see you received $44,518, but you spent $95,018, resulting in the deficit there. But again, that'll be covered, or is already been covered, I should say, by funds received in this year. Bond and interest on page 42. As I indicated, last year you spent $2,200,000 in principal and interest, and it's going to be $2.4 million next year. So just this year we're in. After that, page 45 and 46 to 47. I don't have any particular one item I want to talk about this, but it's always worth noting that, you know, in your agency funds, you think of each fund by itself not having that much money come through. But when you add them all together, it's $368,000. So there's quite a bit of money that goes in and out of those agency funds, which is all the clubs and athletics, all those scholarships, that type of thing. So there's quite a bit of money going through there. Page 50, you're required to have an audit for two reasons. One is that you're statutorily required to have one, and that statute's always there. The second one is because of the federal funding that you receive. So page 50, you spent $2.6 million this last year in federal funds. Kind of expect that to start going down, because if you look at about a third of the way down, it says education stabilization funds is $650,000. That's one of the things that's going to start going down. The other thing that's going to go down is under the school breakfast, national school lunch program. Those monies are also going to go down, because now you're back to free and reduced meals, which means some people are paying as opposed to everybody getting a free meal. So those will go down. KDHE COVID testing grant will also be one that as time goes on here, going to start slowly diminishing. But because of that, and the other thing about the federal funds is that as long as you're spending more than $750,000 a year, you're subject to what they call a single audit. And that gets us to page 53 and 55. Page 53, we have to perform the audit because of that federal funding in accordance with governmental auditing standards, in which we test internal controls and we test compliance with overall things of the district. You know, did you make your deposits on timely on payroll? Did you submit the paperwork for grants that you were supposed to? So this is basically looking kind of overall on the district. And we did not have any deficiencies or material weaknesses to report, and we felt that you were in compliance with generally accepted audit or governmental auditing standards. On page 55, we're now honing in more on specific grants that we look at. We look at them all, but these are ones we have to pick certain ones. We have to do more detailed testing on them. And based on that, our opinion is that you did comply with the requirements of those federal monies, and that you did have internal controls to make sure that the money was spent accordingly. So, page 57, we have to list all of that so that they can look at it at a glance, not once, but 2 or 3 times, because we've got a data collection form we also have to do. But this done electronically, which is going to kind of tell them the same thing this time. Our GAAP basis was adverse because, again, you're not in accordance with GAAP. But our report on regulatory basis is unmodified or a clean opinion. We had no material weaknesses. We did not note any significant deficiencies. Federal awards, we did not note any material weaknesses, and we did not find or note any significant deficiencies. And the programs we looked at on detail are the ones listed there at the bottom. So we spent quite a bit of time testing those. And then last but not least, auditee qualified as a low-risk auditee, and it says no. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. Federal government wants everybody to do gap basis statements. If you do gap basis statements and you have 2 years without findings, then you can have a yes here. But as long as you're doing regulatory basis, you're a no. All that means is that we have to test basically the same thing we have to test anyway. You are allowed to look at maybe a couple of less funds if you qualified for gap basis statements. Gap basis statements, though, would require you to go around and put all the buildings on. You'd have to then record receivables. The pension plan that we just talked about, that 11 million would then have to be shown because you had a balance sheet that would show all of this. And your expenses would be offset or increased, I should say, because of those things being added, because you'd have depreciation being added, you'd have pension expenses being added. And the fact that under gap basis statements, they keep playing around with things that, like leases. It used to be that you could have a capital lease, i.e. you're pretty much purchasing whatever that capital lease is. If you have a capital lease for a piece of equipment, you're pretty much owning it. But you could have an operating lease for a copier, in which you never really own it. You're just using it, paying rent. Now you have to have those copier leases capitalized. And now they're even looking into if you have licensing through your software, that you have to capitalize it somehow. So it's getting kind of crazy over there on that side as to what you can have and not have. That's a report if anybody has any questions on it. Okay. There's also a letter here. Basically what it says is that we're having difficulties in performing the audit. And we do feel that your more significant issues as far as accounting practices go is your budget preparation and also the fact that you're on a statutory basis. Now attached to this, you're going to see a bunch of adjustments, 10 pages in fact. I thought it might behoove me to tell you a little about what's going on there. Ever since you moved over to Skyward, the thing that's been troublesome is getting those accrual accounts up to snuff. And that was crippled a little bit more this last fall when you have one person leave and another person coming on. So with Darcy's help, we sat down and we went through this in great detail to get them adjusted to where we think they're pretty darn good. So we're hoping that as it goes forward, it'll continue to stay that way. What was happening to some extent was accruals were being made, but then when the amount was paid, sometimes it was hitting another account. It wasn't in that accrual account, so it was kind of doubling things up a little bit on the accrual side. So that's the reason there's so many of them that were made to kind of get this back in sync. That's what I have.
Any questions for Harold? Not seeing any. Good job.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again.
Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on. Looks like the next thing we have is WHS lawn lease.
Yes, last month the realtors were here that are interested in leasing a piece of land out by Casey's on high school ground. And so the board had recommended that we send that lease to our attorney for review, and so I sent you that information. And then part of that information was to reach out to a real estate agent to discuss this with the district. And so Kathy Sheets is here this evening, and so I'm gonna have her come up and she does have Martin's opinion on this and just kind of discuss where the board wants to go further with this. So, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. I don't believe we have anyone here from Reese Nichols.
No, I don't believe they're here this
Okay.
evening.
I've done this 33 years, graduate of Wellington, proud of Wellington. I love Wellington. Board members, I made you a packet here, just a little general information. I don't, thank you. else would like one, I've got
Grab one.
4 more.
One more over here.
One more for Chris.
Did I miss you, Chris? That's because you didn't graduate here, did you? Alma mater, and you guys can share along if you'd like.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No.
I didn't know how many.
Laughing about that.
You didn't graduate from here either.
Huh? He didn't, that's right, I know that. Well, first of all, the packet is because I really can't give any advice unless I'm hired. So I would love to help. The situation is on the LOI, letter of intent, which is basically pretty open-ended and lots of negotiations still to happen following. They are transaction brokers, neither working for buyer or seller, just a neutral party. So in your packet, it shows you the different kinds of agencies. I asked Adam a lot of questions and I have a lot of information, a lot of input, but I can't go against the party that already has a contract with someone. So within the rules and regulations from the Kansas Real Estate Commission. I love scooters. I think it's wonderful. I think it's a real compliment that they want to come here. I don't see the downside. Just making sure what the financial commitment is and what the long-term commitment is if it would not. They are very strong. I don't know, did they come and talk to you about all this?
Mainly
Go
just, yeah, a little bit.
About the strength that
As
they
far
are?
as the company,
Right.
not really. I mean, it's
And I included a brochure there. I mean, they have to have quite a bit of money invested to be able to stay in the game.
the realtors were here, the franchisee was
Right.
also here just to meet the board and introduce themselves basically and talk about.
They have a
finance.
150-page booklet about the history, and my brother-in-law loves scooters, and so Omaha. There's 3 states they're sold out in. They just opened one yesterday in Guthrie, Oklahoma. And I think it's awesome, and one of the things, that comes to mind is maybe some student advantage, some student education, some student jobs. And if they go through KDOT, they're gonna get all the safety issues worked out to where that's not a liability for scooters or the school. But, what questions do you have, or Adam, what can I say? I've just had to really, consult.
Right.
I mean, we have an in-house attorney that writes our letter of intents, the LOIs for us. When we do one, it's very typical. I don't see or have any sincere concerns or questions, just some minuscule things to negotiate down to terms. In that packet is an agency agreement if you want my help. Adam asked me if I was willing and I said, sure. My fee is very minimal. We have a $2,500 fee to be involved in anything, to have errors and omissions insurance as a company. So there is, if somebody wants to sign it, we can talk more right now. Or, I'm not sure how your board works. I'm new to your rules and regulations of what you can do.
So has Scooters gotten back to us about KDOT or Casey's or any of that? I mean,
They won't
Me.
spend the time and effort unless they know you're willing, because it's a
but
lot.
that's their stumbling block, so they'll have
Correct.
interest.
And they normally
Interesting.
don't even go into cities under 10,000. So it's a real compliment. And maybe it's because of the 160 highway, I presume, is why we're a candidate even. I just look upon this as very positive, why not? So, but making sure of the funds that are coming in and that it is beneficial and worth the headache is really what you're after. To make
So-
sure of that.
So is that, when we were talking, they want, and I have no recollection of
Okay.
numbers, but like they wanted us to pay so much percent of something
We
or.
wanted 6%,
You
which
guys
is
know, I mean,
$14,400 that we
So
would need to pay.
you
the
would be the
broker.
person
To
that would,
negotiate
to
that with
work
them.
through that.
Correct, and how that would be paid and the terms and conditions
And if
and so
it's
forth.
something that we should have to do, those kinds of things.
Right, and I would approach that very positively. Maybe we ask for more money because they want that. Let them they're gonna earn their fee by working with KDOT and Casey's. We may have already come up against something. If Casey says no, then we're done again.
But if they don't have an entrance and an exit, if they can't get that, then all this is mute.
Correct.
And that's what I was
But they
trying to
can't even
say.
ask without your approval.
But we've already asked them to do that.
You have said you
If-
will
if-
agree to the LOI if they get that.
They need to get an entrance and an exit. That's where it came
You
down
want them to have that first.
We wanna know that first, we told them that, that's, we can't go
Yeah.
on until
And we
we
can't
have
go
that.
on until that happens.
I
And
think
they're
they know
saying
interest.
back that they can't go
They
on
said
without
that they
that
were gonna
written.
go to KDOT.
Okay,
And that's why I asked Adam
Right.
if they had
right,
any conversations, and they haven't.
right.
So everything
It's
is
slow.
kind of at a mute point until
Mhm.
that happens.
Right.
Yep. So
But
my,
if,
yeah, and
but
so
if
my having Kathy here today was based off of talking to Martin as was expected by the board last month, and so.
Yeah.
If we
He
need,
wants-
if we need to wait on a stalemate, if we want to, have Kathy's help, then we can
And-
So I
decide
think
that.
we should wait before we get Kathy involved, because once they find out if they do have an interest in it, that we can get Kathy involved and she can go pretty fast.
well,
with the
and
lease.
another thing, as far as the agency agreement, if it doesn't come to fruition, you pay nothing to either party, the way the offerings have been made right now. So if you do hire and I help you negotiate the letter of intent and it never closes, you never pay anything.
Okay.
So you're not committing financially until there's money coming in
To you?
to them or to
you?
myself.
Okay.
My fee would be very small comparison because I love Wellington and I do. And I would like to give back in any way that I can because it's been good to me. But again, just approaching everything positive, like if they're willing to do the work, is what Chris is saying. They
Yeah,
need to
that's
put
what
the
they,
time
that's
and the
what they
work in.
said, that they were gonna be willing to do.
And I'd be happy to call him, but I don't want to interfere. My grandmother taught me,
Yeah,
maybe you can't make it better, but don't make it worse.
yeah.
And my first inclination was, why not? Growth, and of course, I'm a positive thinker, so when you're in sales, you
Well, then
better be.
I think Kathy would be the right person to jump in with right now,
Thank you.
just, cause you could push things along and make more
Correct.
contact
And I offered to call first, but
yeah,
Adam said, let's talk to
yeah.
you first about the direction you want. So, I'm here if you need me, whatever you need, and you've got what you need to get me involved if you want.
We would just need someone, a motion to go ahead with this and someone sign it in.
Are we ready to do that?
No, I'm not ready to do
We
that.
should drag our feet on everything. Make
Well,
it
we're waiting on them to get back.
I know,
We
but she
told them
said
we're
she
ready
would
to
do all
go.
that.
But they will lose interest if we don't
But
act.
I guess I don't understand that, cause we told them we're ready to go.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
they can get entrance with KDOT, we
Mhm.
told them that we're agreeable to this. So I don't understand what they're waiting on us for.
Well, part of when you say you were you agreeable to all of the terms or only that one if they can get it and then come back and negotiate those other terms? So
Just that one thing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're still ready
Right.
to negotiate with them. on
it's just
the
a lot
rest.
of roadblocks, and if
Yeah.
others, if they can go without those roadblocks, they just move
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
But
And
we're
they
not,
leave us.
we're not out anything,
Correct, unless it closes.
right, so you
Unless
would
it
do lots of
happens.
legwork right now and
I
get back
could,
with them and.
right. And
So
I
we're not out
have a
any
hard
money,
time, because
and
I
then
wanna
we're-
tell you everything I think right now, but I
Yeah,
can't go against the relationship they established before mine.
But you,
So.
you use the term closes, that's normally something that I reference when we're selling property.
Well, close the lease terms and conditions.
but everything's settled.
Right, and, hopefully that fee could be taken from the first however many lease payments. Hopefully it would be no money out of pocket, it would just be, how soon do we make money from this agreement? So, just a little food for thought, and that's why I'm here to try to expedite things, so.
That's what I like, we
Yeah.
just seem to pass it on month to month, everything we do, and
Mhm.
if there's no cost and you're I feel like you're definitely the person to do it.
I feel that. I mean, I'm with you. I feel that too. And then there's no risk to us if we don't continue on. Just sign her on and let her help us out.
I don't know the dynamic of who, if one has to, or all have to agree, or if it's something.
Well, I'm gonna make a
We don't
motion
know
that we
that
hire
either.
Kathy.
Huh?
So we don't know that either.
I make a motion that we, hire Kathy to do what she does and, go from there. On the scooters, lease.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to sign the exclusive rights of selling agreement with Kathy Sheet. So got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
No,
You're on board.
Okay,
Now,
So-
tell us.
I think someone has to sign the paper first.
yes, please. If someone will do that, I have a little bit more that I can share tonight if you want me to, or I'll get with them and then come back to you. What do you
Share
prefer?
what you know, I think.
Yeah, if you're already here, so.
Yes.
So seller, is that what we're
Yes, you are a
signing
seller.
as?
Owner. So basically, Martin's concerns, may I share that?
Yes,
Is that okay?
I've shared
They
everything.
have that, okay. Martin's concerns were, is that enough? And so I wanna get back to you with some data that shows you exactly anything close in comparison, because it is difficult, in smaller markets to find like properties. But I can consult our, companies in Wichita and get some examples. We probably are 30% lower than Wichita, if you're 25 to 30% on commercial properties. Dr. Andrews' old building, I mean, even the agent, when I called to ask how much it was, he said, well, in Wichita it'd be this and Wellington it'd be this, so it's a definite, probably something like that. Martin was also concerned about property taxes. So if you are gonna be responsible for property taxes, because normally you're not, but someone else will own that, and then the questions about, what happens if they don't renew the lease, what happens to the building? Do they restore the property, do they remove it, does it become yours? Those kind of things have to, in the final lease. So what I'd like to do is, my suggestion is to have the first 10 years and this second 10 years be the same, because they want to be paid a commission up front at the close of the lease. And you don't want to put forth money for that, right? You want that to come from the lease, correct? Either whether it's monthly or lump sum up front, so that you don't have cash out of it.
Explain what that is exactly.
Okay. So, as Chris said, $14,000 has to come from somewhere. So is that so many months, is that 7 months of income goes to paying the realtors to get it done? So, and then the other, or are you gonna pay them $500 a month until it's paid? So that you do have some income, or do you have no income for 7 months? So those are the things that have to be negotiated one by one. And that's what Martin wanted, validation of value, have they offered enough? And property taxes and commission, those were his 3 concerns for the board, for the school.
Can you just explain why we should pay commission?
Because they brought you an offer, and that's
Okay.
fine, it's okay to pay it, you may have to raise the price and let them earn it, and let it be worked into it. You can always go back and say, they can pay you half, we'll pay you half. Those are things you can say, but when somebody's starting a new business and they're out 200,000, it'll be about $1 million investment, which is, strong. And in your packet, it also had some strength of numbers of scooters, so. Those are the things I'd like to help you with. So I would then come back and negotiate those terms here and see if they were interested in those too. So, and we could be doing all of that while they're investigating. But if Casey says no, Chris is right, it's over. if they won't agree to an easement there. And they may not, they sell coffee also. So, but it could also bring them other business that stop through and get gasoline too, that might go on to somewhere else, so. Anyway, so there's options out there. If there's a strong feeling of how you want that done. But I'd like to go over all the talking points and get it finite to what, present options to you. To say, okay, we want to get that commission out of the way right away and then get our income, or we wanna pay that commission monthly. On leases, they're used to that. They're used to paying monthly. So, lots of options. And I now with, did I get your signature?
On the back page, yeah.
You did?
There's a bunch of others there through there, but you know how to
Okay.
find me.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
That's all I needed. I just needed permission to work for you. So, any other questions you want me to pursue with them? If not, I'll let you go ahead and get on with your evening and I will do my job.
If they decide they're not interested, and are you gonna pursue like Starbucks or something else for us in
Well,
place
sure,
of
why
that?
not?
Okay.
Bengals, what else? What else? Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Let's make a list. No, we do have within our company as well, like Reese Nichols does have. They're a Kansas City firm that has just come into the Wichita area, 18 months ago, 2 years ago. So, they have different contacts. It's funny how, we work with Dollar General, we work with this one, We did sell, Dollar General was kind of one of my miracle sales there, so. And I, ask you that too, are you sure you don't want to release that and not have the property taxes if you want to sell something? Because I think we all understand selling better than we understand leasing. So I'll try to pinpoint that value too, as I'm looking through what monthly would be.
If we, we're not concerned with selling, what's gonna happen if it
If
doesn't
it
go?
fails,
What's gonna happen
Right.
to the building? Will somebody else move in there and, if we sell it?
be a smoke shack. Something that goes against what you want to.
Yeah, my father-in-law always thought that schoolhouse out there was gonna be a bar, so.
Yeah,
he should sell it. Would we then think about maybe selling it, or if we knew what was going to happen to it?
You can't control what you do not own.
Yeah.
And I think that was the major concern,
It was.
so, yeah,
Okay.
since it was, that it would have to be positive, so. So it's, what they offered was 10 years and then a renewal for 10 more, so,
Is that normal?
yes. And I thought it was good, I thought it was a very nice, I don't know how they would make money at that. So, on a little kiosk type.
Right.
Almost 700 square feet is really all they're looking at this time. But if there is an acre and a half of usability, they could have some growth there, but not a whole lot, so. There are different plans, so I'll get out of your hair. I see you have some VIPs over here that need to talk to you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda is the Can Oakland presentation.
Yes, Dave Nance is here this evening to speak to the board. Have him come up on behalf of Canada. Oh, and Irvin, sorry.
Yeah, and Irvin.
Sorry.
I brought a small packet here too. I'll even give Chris one.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
Just keep going until I run out. Okay, so I will get started. I guess this is probably mostly just an introduction. I think I know most of you, but for those I don't, I'm Dave Nance, Chief Operating Officer at Can Oakland Networks. But Irma Ratliff with me tonight. She's new to Can Oakland, gonna do sales in this area. So we're excited to have her. You've probably all seen, we started construction on a fiber project in town just a little over a year ago. The phase one map is, I believe, inside on page 3. You'll notice that it goes all over town, doesn't stick to just one neighborhood. Reason for that is because top priority in phase one was to put fiber at all of the school districts' buildings. So now that phase one construction is complete, we would love to enter a conversation about being your internet service provider. Called Adam about a month ago, just to start this conversation, and he asked that, you know, being as big of a decision as it is, that we bring this to the board and ask for your permission to start this conversation. So if that is something that you as a board are interested in, we would engage in conversation with your district office staff, your IT staff, find out just exactly what your needs are and work up a proposal to offer you the right service and hopefully save you a little money. Let's see, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. We also mentioned in the packet that we do IT solutions. I know you're currently in contract there, but that is a conversation we'd love to have and see if there's a better tailor-made fit for the school district that maybe someday could work. So yeah, our main ask tonight is just for permission as the board to enter into conversations with your staff. Do you have anything you would like to add or not?
So some things that Canopla has done in the community with USD 353, like the robotics challenge, we partnered with them in Cali to provide that. IT camps, Reality U, and then one of our employee at Canopla is Kyle. He's the esports coach here at the high school.
And we have to do something eventually, because we're with Sumner Communications, or are they still a long time thing? Yeah, because they bought it out, that's right. Okay, sorry about that, I just read that. And long
So
time.
I don't know if that
Yeah.
still keeps you under contract or what the situation is with that, but I'll step away and find out, so. That is really all I have for you. I don't know if there needs to be an action item, if you need to vote on that, or if I can just check in with Adam in the morning and see if
I
we're.
think just informational and,
It's just informational.
yeah, just informational.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you, have a good night.
Okay, moving on. Next thing on the agenda is the calendar.
Linda, shove Linda in there.
2.2.1.
well, my bad.
Yep.
Let's chase.
Linda, come on up.
I was trying to make it really quick, but I got a PowerPoint, so.
Let me get this in. Since you're pulling that up.
What? Yeah, but you have
I know. We were talking about freezing warmer. Hey, Adam, can we get we're over here freezing.
It was just an eyeglass.
I know, it's like, I've
Is it
been.
because the door is open?
I don't know. Let Kelly work on it as we go.
Tell me up or down, just point over here.
Okay. So mine real quick.
Can we turn the lights off? Sorry, Linda, can we turn it off?
Okay.
Yep.
So you can see a little bit better.
Thank you.
National policy seminars held each year in Washington DC. I had asked for permission in 2020 to go, and it had been granted, and I was all excited to go, and then, didn't get to go anywhere, because when we came back from spring break, it was all shut down. So each year from KAAE, which is the Kansas Association of Agriculture Educators, we would like to try to send somebody. We haven't sent anybody since the last time I went, which was actually 2017, I believe. And so I am the head of the legislative committee for our KAAE organization. So I kind of keep up on what's happening statewide, what's happening federal wise. And so this year is kind of an important year because there's a lot of newbies in the federal house. And so we're really pushing for some things and some action. So one of the big things that we're wanting to talk about is just kind of going to talk about some of the CTE advocacy and talking to the different ones. We have some big talking points, and I'm not gonna read through this, but basically the biggest one that we're really trying to push this year is to raise funding and increase funding in Perkins. That's just going to help our programs in career and tech ed be able to have some of that federal funding. Promoting some competitiveness. One of the big ones here is expanding the Pell Grant. Cali College was one of the first colleges to try a Pell Grant at the secondary level for community colleges here in Kansas. It's gone really well. And so what we want to do is we want to kind of take a look at that and talk to our legislators about, hey, this is working. We need to continue it. So that's kind of what this one here, and then talk about some of the different things that are going on to get our students out into the workforce. Strengthening that alliance between those workshops or workforces and getting them a lot of those pre-apprenticeships, those internships, and getting those students out to those opportunities while they're in high school so that they can say, hey, no, physical therapy is not for me while they're still in high school. And so they can start looking at other careers and other opportunities. Last one is just kind of retention of CTE teachers. This is a big one. We have a huge shortage every year of career and tech ed teachers. I know it specifically in the ag area. Every year we have many programs in the state of Kansas that don't have a teacher. They don't have an ag teacher, and they try to hire back, whoever retired or whoever left, or even a local farmer to come in and do something. I mean, it gets bad in some of these communities. And so we want to talk to the federal government about making sure that CTE is recognized as being a core teacher and an important teacher in the whole funding issue and within some of those different programs. So date-wise, it is Sunday, March 19th through Wednesday, March 22nd. The 22nd is actually like a tag-on date for a different little program or something extra to stay for. I don't want to go to that. I want to come home on the 21st. I'm good with doing Sunday because Sunday is the prep day. Monday is more prep day. And like I said, going to this in the past is kind of going in. We bring in some of the big speakers. These guys are the lobbyists, and they're going to say, this is what you need to talk to them about. And so that's what we do on Monday. And then Tuesday we go to the Hill, and we have our visits all scheduled, and so we get to go in. Sometimes we get to talk to our legislators, sometimes we get to talk to their consultants, their little junior guys, and so it's kind of fun though, because a lot of those guys, they're the ones who are running it anyways, and so those are the ones that make a big difference. The last time I went, we were kind of on a mission, and I was surprised because I didn't think, I was like, man, we're not gonna have any of these guys sign on to this, and we got back home and all of them sent us emails that every single one of them signed this caucus, the CTE caucus. And so we were pretty excited that we actually got something accomplished. So like I said, I want to take and leave out of Wichita on Sunday, return on Tuesday. We have a floriculture contest on Wednesday, so I wouldn't be back. Miss Thompson's going to take and get those students ready those last 2 days before the competition. So we'll be set to just, to head to that the next day. Here's the thing where I was talking earlier. I am the chair for the legislative committee for this. It's about 5 years ago that I got to go, and you kind of hear that. The big one is that I'm going with another teacher, another female teacher, and she is going with the FFA ambassadorship that she has. And so cost-wise, what we're doing is I will be this representing the NAAE, National Agriculture Association. And so I will have my registration paid by NAAE, so we don't have any out of pocket. The hotel is $277 a night for the 3 nights, basically, we're, with tax in there, around 945-ish, I tried to kind of figure high. It's gonna be divided between the two school districts, so that we're in the same room, we're just gonna split that fee. So, Miss Miller and I, have known each other for a long time. Transportation, rough estimate is $550. I've been kind of looking at that. We have $250 that the Kansas Association is going to give to me and to her to help pay for our flights. So the other half will have to come from school district funds. Then we'll have meals and ground transportation. If the weather is great, we are scootering everywhere because the last time I was in DC, that was like the cheapest form and best form of transportation that I could find. And then basically we're looking at maybe 800 max for me to go from here for hotel and the flight and that. I'm still working on getting more money out of KAAE, and I'm working on getting money out of our South Central District FFA program. So if I can, then we'll even have less to pay for that. So basically, this is my official request to attend the National Policy Seminar in Washington, D.C., March 19th to 21st. Allocate for my room roughly $500, allocate funds for ground transportation and that, so about another $200, so $700 to $800 is my thing. So that's like I said, I want to make it short and sweet.
You talk fast.
And I do that too, so.
Any questions on any of that?
What's the RAISE Act? Is it Congress to pass the RAISE Act?
Yes, so the RAISE Act it's a new thing, and we're really hoping to get this, because this is going to be helpful for all teachers, that it will help in funding, federal funding for those teachers. It's like scholarship money to help those career and tech ed teachers, so that they can get paid back a little bit, and it's gonna be through taxes, so that they can get taxes back. And so you go to school and you study career and tech agriculture education, and you become a teacher, we're gonna give you this tax break.
Incentive
To be that. And so that's what we're looking for, is that incentive. So if this RAISE Act passes, then that's going to help get money to those, trying to find a family and career and science teacher, trying to find a business teacher. They're hard to find. An industrial arts teacher, they don't even exist anymore. And so trying to find those, well, this RAISE Act would help then, okay, you went to college, you've got these hours, now we're going to get you some money back through taxes. So it's a big tax break is what it is. So that's another one of our big talking points. So, and we'll go through, like I said, on Monday, we'll go through each one of those so that we can go in and say, all right, we develop a little push card that we walk in with, and it's like, here you go, and all that. So kind of fun. It's interesting because I get a weekly update from a lobbyist that I'm tied with in Topeka, and so I've been getting a lot of the new legislation that is being passed. And again, we have a lot of freshmen here in Kansas too, and those freshmen have really they've come in, and it's kind of funny because they all get on different committees. And so I want this passed. Well, I was going through, there's like 3 of them that have all came up with the same bill, but it's all got different numbers because they've introduced them into different committees. So it's kind of crazy right now tracking bills that are going through. Most of them are never going to go anywhere, but hopefully some of them will.
It's February, so you need an answer.
That's why we kind of push this in.
Yeah.
So that, we could find out, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the out-of-town travel expense for the NPS seminar.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
Got a second? I guess one thing I'd ask when you get back, if you could come give us a report. Let us know how it
Sure.
went.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would love
Just
to.
be kind of nice to know that we're making a difference when we do
Oh,
this
yeah.
stuff, so.
Well, yeah, I will definitely do that, because that's kind of the fun thing is getting to, I've taken kids to WLC
Yep.
and getting students in there, but even for adults, I mean, whenever we go in, it amazes me, the contacts that we make and
So-
how it goes on, so.
Got a motion and a second on the floor, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. All right.
Great.
Have a good trip.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, so now back to my earlier, the 2023-2024 calendar.
Yes. The calendar committee has done their initial work on the 23-24 calendar and put that before you. The calendar committee consists of myself and Dr. Kern, and Andrea is also on that committee, and then there are representatives from each building that become a part of that. And so it is kind of a free-for-all with opinions, an interesting committee, as Andrea found out this year. And so it's always fun to go through that. So thoughts on what they are, what the committee is presenting to you, and what you would like me to take back to them?
I know last year, it just seemed like all the discussion afterwards was like, well, I didn't see it. Did all the staff members, was it a priority to make sure all the staff?
They were supposed to. We
see
had
it?
those conversations with them. They're
Yeah,
supposed to go
yeah.
back and
Yeah.
do that. And
They
So-
actually, all the staff members took a survey, actually,
Yeah,
I
this
went
year.
and do the survey
Yeah,
this
that's
year
good,
too.
that's what I was.
Yeah. You're right, Pat. That is a topic that comes up every year, so.
Okay, I'm not gonna make any friends, but the day after Halloween, November 1st.
Okay.
I understand why it's there, but it's in the middle of the week and it's the reason it's there. So that's my whole reason for it.
Yeah, it was definitely put on the calendar as the day after Halloween
Uh-huh.
on purpose.
Yes.
I
And
mean,
so,
it would be an in-service, right? I mean, just
Yes.
whatever we're working on or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see there's not as many during the school year. I must say that.
Yeah, we did. We
There
took
are
it.
a lot more school days.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
took a couple.
And there's not, I think last year there were like 2-3 day weeks a month. And there's not, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would like to see that Wednesday gone as well.
You guys don't work the day after Halloween.
I know, I completely understand and respect what it's about, and it's mainly the elementary, I'm assuming, but it's a Wednesday,
It's go to school for 2 days, be off a day, go to school for 2 days. It's just weird. It breaks routines.
It's a wasted day.
well, we could talk about a lot of wasted days.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we have 2 days, I don't like 2 day weeks either, or 3 day weeks. But we do have some of those after Christmas. Some of the time. Anybody else have a thought?
The discussion in calendar committee was if we didn't like that Wednesday, they would just move it to the Friday. So I mean, I feel like everybody on the committee was just like, well, let's just try it and see, and then if it doesn't go through, we'll just move it to the Friday. So they need an in-service day in that month.
And I'm completely fine with it being the 3rd.
Okay.
I'm completely, have no problem with that.
You mean the,
November the 3rd instead of
oh,
November the
November,
1st,
Did that come up on the surveys?
the day after Halloween. I don't know.
Oh.
I didn't get to see the survey results, so I don't know.
it's just a hard day. Anybody? Ann, you have any thoughts about the day, you elementary people?
I mean, it really doesn't bother me. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they come, we're, like today, we're
Yeah.
going,
I was gonna say, like
We're
what Deanna
teaching.
said, there's lots of hard days.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
each one of them.
Yeah.
Oh my, so, but I understand, like, in the middle of the week, it's hard for parents and
I mean,
and it breaks up routine, so.
Yeah.
because I mean, if it's just because it's the day after Halloween, then next year it's gonna be on Thursday.
Thursday.
Or, so it's gonna be like a floating day, and I mean, that's my problem with it, it's not, I don't.
I don't know.
Got that noted.
And everybody saw there's a full week off for Thanksgiving.
I don't like that, but they do, and I don't like starting on the 14th, but I'm not the one, you know. I think that's crazy, but if they want it, that's, you know, I don't have to go anymore.
That's,
Any other opinions on that?
What was their thought on that? I mean, I know quite a few schools
Yeah,
are
it's,
going
it's
to the
kind
week
of
after
a,
Thanksgiving.
it's kind of a trending thing among
Yeah.
school districts to do that, instead of doing typically we go the Monday, Tuesday, and then are off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but that's become kind of a trend in education calendars, so they put that on there this year, put days elsewhere, so it's just a matter of whether the board wants to head in that direction yet, or if we wanna, wait. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there, it's not, they're not asking for something that's abnormal somewhere, but at the same time, we haven't done it in the past, and so it's whether, I don't know that there's a, like I said, I don't know that there's a wrong answer there, so.
I like doing it there, then, I mean, I know all the 2-day weekends were for a purpose, but a week right there makes sense then, because it's all that holiday week. I like the council myself, not for, you know, I don't like it, but they do it, it's fine too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm fine with everything except
Yeah.
for Wednesday.
I don't mind anything.
So do we want it to be brought back to us with that adjustment made, or do we wanna go ahead and approve it with that adjustment to be made?
What's the time, is there a time crunch on this?
Not necessarily, I mean, the sooner we get it done, the sooner we can start working on things, but it's, the board needs to be comfortable, that's the main thing, so.
Is everybody okay with just bringing it back next meeting with that adjustment being made? That way we got a little bit more time to digest it and kind of kick around the full week off for Thanksgiving. I mean, if there's not a time crunch, I don't see a reason for pushing so hard.
They'll probably just come back with that Monday, that whatever day that is.
Pause.
I can't get this to be-
Pause.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pause that one.
Okay, got it.
Table it, whatever the official
So
term needs to be there.
The Halloween day is the only thing I'm hearing that is
Yeah, and if they wanna move it to the, you know, that Friday.
whatever day,
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody else have any other?
And like Adam mentioned, you know, if you think about the Thanksgiving piece of it and have questions about that, just reach out to him and let him know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that way we can
Just hit me
get
up.
this dealt with. You good with that, Adam?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Moving on to policy updates.
Okay, Russ's time to shine. So policy, we have been meeting as a policy committee doing two things. We had the December updates that were discussed. We're also working on a policy project that we had talked to the board about, and so that's going well. We actually just met before this meeting. And so, but as far as this particular board meeting, had the December updates before you. And Deanna and Andrea are both representatives of that committee, and so, and Russ, as far as any topics that were brought up within that, I know the Wednesday, policy was an issue that's been discussed, here in the district off and on, for a while on whether anything should happen on Wednesday nights as a family night or religious night or however, people look at it. The district has not done a great job of staying away from Wednesdays for a decent amount of time now, and
Yeah,
so
Wednesday night too.
and so really, so that topic came up to discuss that. And then was there anything else on there that was?
I think that was it. I think we were pretty good with everything else other than that, I believe it's, section LED, the family night, which appears they want to eliminate that altogether. So, basically it says no school activity is to take place on Wednesday night or on Sunday without written permission of the superintendent. These times are set aside for family activities. If the superintendent permits any exceptions to this policy, notice shall be given to the board at the next regular or special meeting. So I think we had some concerns with them wanting to eliminate that altogether, and I don't know if Andrea or Deanna want to expound on that a little bit.
I couldn't open it.
Go
Because
open it
it's
from the
certain
drive,
requests.
you can't open it from the link.
Okay, if that's, I'm fine with Wednesdays because we never follow it anyway, but I think something should be put in on Sundays because there are coaches that have had practice at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. I think we should do something about Sunday. I mean, not necessarily eliminate it, but there should be a
Minimize it.
time frame or something, because I know they have been.
My whole deal is, my concern is, if you wanna have something on Wednesday or Sunday, that's fine, but it should not be a penalization if they do not show up. They should still be able to start the game.
Right, but
If they can make it, fantastic. If they can't, there should be no repercussions to it. And like on Wednesday, I think you can have practice at 4 o'clock. I mean, I was thinking after 6 p.m. We don't need to be having anything on Wednesday nights. For just to have a night off, to be able to have a family night or whatever it is, so.
I think I totally agree, but I mean, like DARE is always on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
DARE
and,
graduation's always on
but I
Wednesday
mean, but if
night.
there's nothing else going on and it's not a problem to have that, and it's something simple where you can say, DARE's next month at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. at the high school. And nobody's gonna say no, but it's not a penalization if they don't go, or. I just don't want the kids to be held accountable because families wanna do something on a Sunday or a Wednesday night.
Sundays especially, but I don't think you can control it. You can say it, but I don't think you can, knowing kids have played forever, you can't control that they won't some way.
If you look at the calendar, I mean, sports calendar stuff, it's pretty clear on a Wednesday night. There's not a lot going on Wednesdays.
No, not sports wise, there's not.
But I mean, and
More practices, I think.
yeah, and that's what I'm just saying, like, if we have something that just says after 6 p.m., you know, nothing after 6 p.m. without approval. It's not saying you can't, just.
Did it say, it used to say after 6 p.m. or something?
It does not say that
It says no
in here.
Wednesday.
My problem with that is just Sundays.
Sundays all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
you're
okay
right,
with
there's
Sundays,
there's probably gonna be some practices that get thrown in now, and then I know NHS is always on a Sunday traditionally, so some of that stuff we'd have to look at. But we could figure it out.
So, I think we're on the same page, me and Jan, I agree. But I think it'd be hard. Coaches are gonna do what they wanna do if you don't show up, even if we have it.
I think the biggest issue that rolls in on Sundays for somebody who's like in Ellie's position is when you have a lot of like weather cancellations or something like that, and then you're trying to reschedule, that's when it gets to be messy because your whole everything's already booked up on Tuesday, Thursday, so, so I think that if there's, how do you guys feel about cancellations, like rescheduling something on Wednesday that got canceled because of weather?
I don't have a problem, is let's just follow our policy, cause like you said, we haven't even been doing that, so.
So is what I'm hearing, I mean, Russ, at the top, you said to delete that, and it's all struck through. So are we doing away with that?
Well, that is their recommendation. That's their recommendation, so.
Okay, sorry.
So we don't have to get rid of that. We can form our own.
And
Yeah, that's what we were talking about in policy, was leaving it and actually practicing our
Yeah,
policy.
follow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been broken for a long time.
I myself just want something for Sundays, either no practices on Sundays or a limited time frame on Sundays, but. There have been practices like at 10 o'clock or 11.
It's just discussion item, correct, or is it an action item?
No, it's just discussion.
Yeah. So Pat, you say that there has been practices, I mean,
Yeah.
that's blatantly against the current policy. So
Yeah.
we haven't been following that or enforcing it.
Correct,
So-
and including the Wednesdays.
It's already, yeah, so it's already in there to take care of what you're talking
But
about.
what's it say about Sundays?
Says that no school activity is to take place on Wednesday night or on Sunday without written permission of the superintendent. We cut and dry.
Just enforce it then.
yeah, the KASB wants to delete that policy and we wanna keep it in.
Yeah.
And enforce it.
Okay, great idea.
What was, did KASB give any direction on why they wanted to delete that? Is it just?
probably because it's not real.
Yeah, probably.
I will really.
Well, and there's always, everybody has ways around it.
Sure.
They say, oh, well, we're having a shoot around, we're not practicing, we're just gonna show up at the gym and shoot baskets.
So I agree, but this says no school activity. Is the way this is
Well, it's
written.
not really,
I
I'm
thought
saying,
we had
there's
the part about the
always,
superintendent.
they will always
Right.
find a way to circumvent it. Unless we
Did
just
we
say.
add the part about the superintendent, or was that in there?
Yep, that's what I'm saying,
That was in there.
Yeah.
What's the time
Somewhere
frame?
else.
It just said
Time.
policy was
Good point.
deleted to allow flexibility for local boards and school districts to determine when school activities and then shall be held.
Could somebody read that though as saying, I mean, if you check the policy literally, are you saying no practice at all on Wednesdays? What does Wednesday night mean?
See, that's why I wanted to add like
That
after, nothing after six
Yeah.
P M.
There used to be a time years ago, I guess, but
Yeah, cause I'm like, that gives.
This just says Wednesday night, just says Wednesday night.
I don't know how many people in church on Wednesday night. I mean,
Yeah, so.
ours is on Wednesday night.
Again, I think, yeah, I think
the
too,
Methodist church
that
might be as well.
I'm okay with it as long as it's not, they don't hold it against the student, and then how do you enforce that, like?
Yeah.
Maybe y'all talk about it some more in policy and come up with a solution.
Well, we brought it here to talk because we already talked about it.
Well, we could bring, I mean, after this discussion, we could bring back something rewritten. Since it's supposed to be, I mean, it's specifically striking it for local reasons, so we could, based off this discussion, we could rewrite it and bring it back next month for you.
Maybe put some sort of timer constraint in it.
With all the different suggestions. I mean, I think we can combo this whole thing.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Good deal. Got some more work, Russ.
Oh, I'll take it.
Okay. Okay, next thing is the KESA update.
Yes.
Current.
Dr. Kern, Ms. Shannon.
Favorite
No action items.
Okay, so this is Board Appreciation Week, or actually, I think we're a little late, but that's why I didn't have the cups in front of you. Appreciate everything that you've done for us. You've also got a book that looks like this, that you can take home and read through if you feel like it. This is actually everything that we've done over the last 5 years. So our KESA accreditation process is a 5-year process. However, during COVID, we had a pause year. But this kind of goes through all of the different things that we have started and changed and everything that we've done over the 5 years.
Is this the same as what we got here? Cause I wanted to print it, but it was way too many pages. I like to just sit and really read,
Yes, now you can
Because
sit
this
on
is
your
it,
couch
yeah.
and read
I
through
don't
it.
like that, oh, page after page after page.
So I'm gonna kind of roll through this a little bit quicker, because Brandon came, he was on that team when the OBT team came and stayed the whole entire day with us. And we went through all of our data and all of the things that we've been doing. So this is the same PowerPoint, but I've taken a lot of it out, just so we can go through it a little bit quicker. So the order of the information that we're gonna go through is the foundational structures that we've started 5 years ago and we're still doing. The goals that we've made for our district, the Kansas board outcomes, stakeholder engagement, and diversity, equity, and accessibility. So of course, our foundational structures are CHAMPS, MTSS, and now we've got letters, training that we're adding to that, which is the science of reading that all of our K-3 teachers are learning. Mentoring at the middle school and high school, Zello, which is our career software, BLT teams, GEI teams. So our BLTs are our building leadership teams in each building that make decisions and collaborate in their buildings. GEI is general education intervention, and that is for behaviors. So we have teams.
That's for everything.
and everything. So we have
Academic, yeah.
teams in every school that get together and discuss ways that they can help students that are struggling. And then social emotional supports. So these were our goals 6 years ago when we started all of this. Goal 1, the district will increase scores on FastBridge assessments, state assessments, and ACT assessments through the adoption and alignment of a K-12 evidence-based curriculum. Goal 2, USD 353 will increase post-secondary success by increasing the number of students who participate in CTE pathways, college credits, and internships. And goal 3, the district will increase kindergarten readiness by reducing the number of students who enter kindergarten that are at some risk or high risk by ensuring access to a focus on standards-based pre-K educational opportunities. I know that's really wordy, but that is what our goals are. These are the accomplishments that we have made over the last 6 years. All of this kind of contributes to the success that we should be also seeing the next 5 years. Now that we have all of this in place, we can actually, for the next 5 years, get those things kind of as just part of our culture. So we have had a lot of in-service days, but we have been implementing a lot of new curriculum and starting our letters training. I mean, we just have a lot going on. And now that we're kind of, after all of this has been implemented, now we can start working on our processes and for the next 5 years. Challenges. So one of our first challenges that we did not expect was On's Place moving in, which made a huge difference to all of our schools. This actually made a huge difference in handling behaviors, how to use different strategies to help reach kids that need extra help. So we've implemented a lot of things to adjust to that. When we started with Summit, struggled with that, and then had new curriculum. The pandemic, of course, was a struggle for the whole nation. And then we had lots of changes in leadership. So this is kind of a timeline of how we've implemented the curriculum that we said that we were going to do. So we wanted to increase our scores in all of these things, which we are still working on doing that. But in order to get to that place, we also need to get all of these processes going. And just so you don't have to listen to me the whole time, Anne is going to come up and kind of talk about FastBridge processes. Because
she's got her presentation jacket on again.
She is,
yes. But I'm not gonna go, I'm just gonna get like a little overview. Is it okay if I
Yep. It's nice, isn't it?
All right, so I'm gonna talk about the FastBridge. So FastBridge is kind of the drive on how we drive our MTSS and curriculum in our schools, how we use it. So at the beginning of the year, every kid in the district takes FastBridge to see where they're at. We do math and reading, and we also have a social emotional part. Once we get those test results where they're at, every school does it differently, but we make a board, so I just brought one in so you can see. So every kid becomes kind of like a sticky note, so they have meaning to them, and we put them in their tiers. So there's tier 1, 2, and 3. Tier 1 is you're at grade level or above. Tier 2 is you have a few things to work on. You're almost there, but you're just not quite. And tier 3 are your several grade levels below where you need to be. So you need a lot of intervention. So what we do is they do their FastBridge for all the things, and we do one. This is math one. And if you're in tier 3, you're a red sticky note. If you're yellow, you're tier 2, and if you're green, you are tier 1. So everybody's placed in where they're at. We've moved it, so I'm gonna go on. So this is how we start in August. once we do that, and then I'll open it again so you can kind of see in a second. But so then we, as a team, we get together and we have to decide what we need to do for them and whatnot. We have tons of different MTSS curriculum. So my reading specialist, Mrs. Chanelli, she gets together with the teachers and stuff, and we do this, and then we group them. Then we do diagnostic testing. So those who qualify in tier 3, tier 2, and tier 3, we can figure out where there are gaps, what we need to work on with them in our small groups. So we'll do QPS testing 2 through 5, passed for K1, and that breaks it down for us so we know what we need to work on. For reading, for math, we do the math, and then they take lots of different tests. So for example, if you're a 5th grader, you're gonna do, and they're in tier 3, we're gonna do it, start with addition, and then if you pass that, then we'll do subtraction. Past that, we move on to multiplication, division, fraction, so we can pinpoint what we need to work with them on. So when they're in their groups, they meet every day. If you're tier 1 and 2, you meet 30 minutes for intervention or even like enrichment. Tier 3, you meet for an hour in reading. So you will meet a solid hour throughout the day, somewhere in the day. Math is just 30 minutes all around. That kind of gives you a general what we do. And then we progress monitor tier 3 every week, usually on Fridays. And then we progress monitor everybody else every 2 weeks to see where they're moving, if they're getting out, if we're making gains. Once that, then we do Fast Bridge again in December on all the things that we did in August. And then our goal is to move them. And so we did it in December. And again, so that you can see. So then we all get together as a team during GEI and stuff. And then we put their new scores on their sticky note. And our goal is for them to move. Or if they're already in the green, is to stay, just keep them up there. And so these are the results in December. And so then we physically move the sticky notes. So we're like, all right, they moved. Believe me, if we have to move one down, we're like, oh. And we don't have to, this time we didn't have to move several down. We moved, as you can see, tons over to tier 1. And then now the discussion is how we are going to keep them here. What are we going to do with them? And so then we'll continue MTSS process, and then in April, end of April, we will fast bridge them again. And so hopefully this process gets our data, we want to improve our data, and that's how it's all. So,
do you want to share, if they're in tier 2 at the bottom or tier 3 at the bottom?
Yeah. Okay, so that's a great question.
They're still in tier 3, but they may.
Yeah, but they're at the bottom, and that is automaticity. So in math, it's with their addition facts, how fast they do it. So if they're not at 95% or above, then they're going to be at the bottom. They're going to be at the bottom because they're not doing them fast enough. So we need to work on that kind of things. If it's reading and they're at the bottom, they are not reading fast enough. So they might have 85% accuracy. They might be in tier 2, but they're only 85% accurate. So we want to move them up and over. So,
Miss, will you open that up one more time? I'm just giving kudos to Mrs. Jenkins because how many tier 3s did you have when you started?
Oh, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes, so she's worked very hard to.
Oh yeah.
Yes, she's doing amazing.
Yeah.
So my question is, at the beginning, those were all, we had quite a few in tier 3, and quite a few in tier 2. Where were they at in kindergarten? At the end of the year, it's the spring, when you tested them in kindergarten. What is it? The summertime? They're not. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and so that's what we try to pinpoint, what's going on. Or is it 3 months that they're off and they didn't do any summer school? Do they need, more intense summer help? And that's what we're kind of, looking at.
Okay, so do you recommend, since we offer summer school?
Yes, so then that's what we do. So so for example, if there's a couple of kiddos that still are in the tier 3 and they haven't moved, they have maybe gotten better, but they're still in that. Those are kiddos we recommend for summer school. That's a great question.
Where are those kept? Are those like in your office? Are they displayed in the school?
So no, they're not displayed in the school, but
Okay.
that's why I was like, oh gosh, I didn't really want to see that, it's okay. So I just picked one, I just grabbed them because they're in my office and they're like put away. So we only bring them out so my teachers see them. So, I go.
Good question. Good
So yeah, they're not up anywhere. We don't have anywhere if we did, private in Washington, so to do that. Any questions? That was just
Thank you, Ann.
all right. Yep.
Thank you, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
So Fast Bridge, we've worked really hard on. We were actually, Tazen helped us start that whole process in 2017, and now we are cruising with it at the elementary, and we are improving those processes at the middle and high school. ACT assessments were another thing that we were looking at, and what's kind of crazy with that is when we started the whole thing, not everybody was taking the ACT, and then during that period of time, everyone started taking it, and we're still doing pretty good. This is 8th grade took it for the first time this year, and so we'll start doing that every year. And then this is the high school, and so you can see that almost in every area we improved.
Go back a minute, can you, just a second? I had trouble understanding that right there. When you
This is just kind of telling us.
just take science, for example, just one and
Science, okay, so 34% of the kids that took that are on target. 7% are on the cusp of being on target, and then 59% need intervention in science.
So how do we know that? I mean, does ACT have
That ACT gave me this report. I didn't come up with this report.
Oh, okay. I was like, how do we?
So yeah, this was on their site, and I thought it was just a easy overview of
Do you
what
get
they
some,
did.
well, you don't get anything like that for the older kids that take it probably.
Not this particular
Okay.
report.
Yeah, I just
Look at
could, yeah.
that STEM. Look at STEM.
That's a district goal.
Yep. And then at the high school, we've really improved. Now, state assessments are an area that through, we had a pause year through the pandemic, and basically, although we have made gains in some areas, we haven't put a huge focus on that. And so we are now back to kind of focusing on this assessment as well, and taking our interim assessments and practicing that so that we're good test takers. We kind of like to look at our other tests a little bit closer because this one just happens once a year and it happens in the spring. Goal number 2. We will increase post-secondary success by increasing the number of students who participate in CTE pathways, college credits, and internships. And this has been one of our huge increases. So college credits earned, you can kind of see from 2017, and then come around to 2020, then we go up to 768, 2021, 1330, and then so far this year, 469, that will definitely surpass what we had.
I'm feeling really stupid tonight. Why are there two 2021s?
20,
Alright,
20,
I'm done.
21,
No, that's
21,
what I said,
22.
I need to wear my glasses.
Okay. So, yeah, 1,330 was last year. Then internships, we really just started our internships in 2020, and then in 2022, 23, we're up to over 30. So we're really pushing those. And then market value assets. So these are just trying to get kids certificates before they leave high school, so they can just jump right into a profession if they wanted to. And so you can see kind of the areas that we're providing certificates. And then this kind of shows our CTE concentrators and which things that kids are most interested in. It looks like business management and health science are the things that the kids are concentrating in the most. And then CTE completers. So if you have a completer, then they have kind of focused on a pathway and they've gone all the way through. And it's okay for kids to change their mind in the middle because a lot of kids don't know what they're interested in, want to try different things, but this shows the completers. Goal number 3. So student will increase kindergarten readiness by reducing the number of students who are enter kindergarten who are at some risk or high risk by ensuring access to a focus on standard-based pre-K educational opportunity. So we are actually still working on this goal, and they, our OBT team said that's okay. We can carry a goal over to the next cycle as long as we've made progress on that goal. So as you know, we've talked a lot about restructuring and kind of trying to figure out if we need to create preschools or if there's enough preschools in the community that can accommodate the kids that need it. So now we are continuing to work on this process. So these are just some of the things that we've run into. Although the Futures preschools are free, a lot of kids can't go to Futures because of different criteria that they might have. While current preschools do a great job, some of them might be too costly for kids that aren't attending, and that's what we're trying to figure out, why there's a group of kids that aren't attending. And current preschools in Wellington want to continue the business and are fearful that the district might cause a disruption to that business, so we want to be cautious of that. So KSDE has outcomes for measuring progress, and so they kind of help us to look at some of the goals that we should be looking at for our district as well. So social emotional growth, kindergarten readiness, plan of study, high school graduation rates, and post-secondary completion and attendance. So this is what we've done as far as our social emotional. We have had training in CHAMPS. We get the SABRS assessment and look at those results. We have professional development such as the poverty simulation, trauma-informed practices, social emotional activities, dyslexia training, MTSS, and GPI. And then we've added new support to our district, which includes Sumner mental health staff, and social workers, psychologists, and counselors. In high school, developed the anti-bullying PD pamphlet that Mr. Nance shared. So our attendance report is something that we also may carry over to the next 5 years, because since COVID, attendance has been not, the chronic absenteeism has actually risen. So we want to focus on those kids that are having trouble getting to school, trying to figure out why, and helping them to be more successful, because if you miss school, you can't learn. So we need them in school. So it's possible that next year one of our goals could be to work on chronic absenteeism, which also makes a difference in our graduation rate, which I'll show you here in a minute. And plan of study also helps with that, kind of gives them the goals that they need to reach and hopefully get them in a lot of activities in school that they want to be for. So our graduation rate has gone down since 2017-18. So think that, you know, by focusing on that chronic absenteeism, we can help this as well. Just getting them in school, staying in school and staying active. And then some of this is actually helped by, you know, our Fresh Start, which we get graduates from that maybe a year or sometimes even 2 years later. And so this is just our attendance rates, just looking a little bit closer at those attendance rates and seeing how they differ from different schools, different age groups. And it is kind of a trend district-wide. Stakeholder engagement, we have really kicked this up a bit. So we have now our GEI teams, we have our board meetings that are live, and so that anybody can come virtually or in person. We have our district website, of course, and social media that we share on, and our communication specialist that does that for us. There's now a podcast that's done every month that the kids kind of come up with the topics for that, but that shares a lot of what's going on in the district. And then, of course, community partners. And this is our social emotional progress, kind of telling you what the GEI process does. And that is it.
Cool. Any questions?
Yes, on the pre-K screening on page 29,
Yes.
how are you doing that?
So right now, the parents fill that out online.
Is this before they enroll them or while they're enrolling them?
They can do that at Kindergarten Roundup, they can do it at home, but we want them to do that before they're enrolled.
Okay.
And that is actually a statewide thing. We do our own assessments when they come in, but this one kind of tells us information, one, you know, if they've been a preschool or not, and that's the one we're really kind of looking at, because that way we can look at that and see, are they actually coming in struggling, or maybe they aren't, you know, maybe we don't have a problem after all, so we're looking at that kind of data. It also gives us a heads up, so, you know, if a parent just has one child and maybe doesn't have other kids to compare to, they may not know there could be delays, and so it gives us kind of some idea that maybe we need to look a little closer at maybe some large motor skills or small motor skills or hearing or vision.
So what kind of testing are we doing at, like Roundup? How do we know the readiness level?
So we're not doing testing, we're not testing. So when the parent goes to enroll, then they can do that questionnaire, which kind of asks questions about their child, which is the ASQ that she's talking about.
Like, you know what some of the questions?
Can they hop on
Yeah,
one leg?
skip?
Can they tap? Can they clap? Can they hop? Can they, do you know your ABCs? Do you know your numbers? And just those basic, just general questions.
And the parent answers those. And there's kind of how do we put them in a category? How do we put them in low risk, high risk?
So it does it for you. And it just, and you know, sometimes with little kids, sometimes they'll do things for their parents that they won't do, you know, for their teachers. And so in one way, it's good for the parent to fill it out. And then other ways, it's kind of nice for the teacher to be able to look at some of these things as well. But you get a report that kind of tells you, you need to look at this kid a little bit closer. And it may be nothing, but it just gives you a heads up.
Do you know what the expectations are? I mean, what does the state say is ready for school?
Well,
I-
the
I-
state says
I've
if
seen
you're
what that,
five,
yeah, I think I've
you
seen
come to school.
that, but I mean, is that what we consider? Because,
Well, we consider if they're five, they can come to school. I mean, we can't really tell them that they can't. But that is one of the things that for the preschool goal, we would love to start working with the preschools just to make sure that we're both kind of on the same page of what is expected when they leave preschool and come to us. I think that might help with that gap a little bit.
And aren't we supposed to be getting the preschool, like with Futures or whatever preschool we have, we're supposed to be connecting our curriculum so they're matching?
That's what we would like to do. Now, Futures has their own curriculum, but we would like to maybe work with them as far as maybe developing a preschool standards list that matches up to
so what, yeah, that matches up to what?
the kindergarten one. So when they finish this one, then they'll be ready for this one.
And the state has one, right, that says,
They have
because I've seen theirs
preschool
and I'm like,
standards,
there
yes.
is no way. It's, I mean, there's just not. But
So I think just working with families is probably the best thing that we can do. Just making sure that everybody has assistance if they need it, if it's, maybe they can afford preschool, but they just need transportation, we just need to figure out how to.
so like, what are our expectations, or what's a kindergarten teacher's expectations when they get there? What do they hope they know?
Well, kindergarten teachers hope that they have somewhat of an attention span, that they can sit for maybe 10, 15 minutes at a time, follow directions, share some of those basic things. And anymore, kids are coming into kindergarten able to identify their letters. And if they're ready, they'll pick that up pretty quick. But if a lot of them come in almost reading small words, so there's a huge gap.
Right.
I can't really say that just because some kids aren't doing that doesn't mean that they won't, pick it up pretty quick. So
How soon in kindergarten do we put them in tiers?
right away.
So the way we have started officially putting them in the MTSS tier levels after Christmas. The kindergarten teachers have found that maybe a lot of it is terminology, that the kids just have maybe have never been asked that particular question before or asked in that way. So the first semester is just kind of seeing where those kids are, what they truly do know, and then after that, they are fast bridged though in the spring, in the fall and in the winter. But then after
Kind of wait till.
exactly, just kind of see where they are. They get used to a routine.
Yeah.
Some of them have never even been able, been asked to sit before and to attend and those types of things. So right.
And they've probably never been around other adults, and when they first come to kindergarten, they're shy and you don't really know what they know for a little while.
So is that what you do, Ann? I mean, does all the kindergartners wait till January to put them in tiers?
Yeah, you can also start second quarter too, it depends on.
Know the kid and know,
Yeah, your
I would
class.
just to clarify, it's not that we don't. We make sure that we attend their needs. They just aren't officially put in a tier.
Yeah, I like that.
I had one more question, sorry.
Too about something else, but,
Okay, on page 41 on the Kansas Communities That Care survey, who took that survey?
So that was before the opt-out, when we had that survey sent out to the community. And so I think that's probably the last one we'll get a good group answer from. But it's all anonymous, so I really can't tell you who took it.
No, I mean what grades?
Oh, what grades?
middle school and high school, I know all of the high school, but middle school, of course, those guys aren't here tonight. I'm trying to remember what.
So, but to answer your
Can't remember
question
if
on
sixth
that, the
grade
kids who opted out this year in high school did not take it. The parents who opted out of it did not take it, but the kids who their parents did not opt out from that took that Savers. And so the data on that is not the full picture of this year because it's the data from before when we had the full picture.
I do know they do at the middle school. I can get you the grades. I don't have that memorized.
What does the elementary kid?
My question, well, where I was going with that was, where was the communication to the parents? Cause like I can go on others, cause this was a Kansas survey, it wasn't just a Wellington one. So like I can go to other schools on their websites and see November 1st, it says your student will be taking the survey between now and January 31st. I see nothing on our district. I didn't get any kind of text alert. There was no communication to the parents that the survey was happening. So I was looking on our website trying to find it and I can't, but I can go to other schools and find it. So I'm just asking where that communication piece is.
Evidently missing. I mean, without Bob and Ofty here, I don't know what they specifically did on communication, but I can definitely find that out.
Okay, cause that's just
Yep.
we had students taking the survey that parents maybe opt out or not, I still wanna know that my kid was taking a survey, especially about suicide and stuff.
Do elementary kids take something?
They don't take the Kansas Community Care.
But do they take some kind of?
Not that I'm aware of.
And we do our
I was
savers,
thinking they did.
which is through
No,
Fastbridge, but again, it's opt in and opt out.
This year.
And is that during the enrollment process of the opt-in, opt-out on these surveys?
Those were supposed to get sent out.
Cause I was thinking, I mean, I know one school.
So I'll check.
I'm not faulting any school, I'm just saying, I know one school, it kind of came and went, and it's like a light went on, they did it before they knew they should have told parents when it was happening, or there was a choice to opt out. That's what makes me think elementary takes some kind of mental
This was our first year for
health.
the opt-out, and so it was confusing to a lot of people, but we did, send out the opt-out on all of the social media and everything, and we had a lot of kids or a lot of parents that did opt out, but it is totally anonymous and it helps us a ton know what our needs are in our district, as you can tell on that. And that's one of the reasons that we had the anti-bullying assembly, and because that showed us that there's kids, maybe they weren't officially bullied, but they thought they were bullied, and so this kind of helped them see what that definition is and what they can do about it.
Good stuff. Good questions. Any others?
Okay, I have another question. Not a question, but okay, and I know, we have a school that was on, I don't know, can you tell me? They're kind of on a plan of assistance, yeah. And so my understanding is once you get on that, it's kind of hard to get off. And I was just wondering if there's anything that they need that we could help with that, like maybe, I don't know, read another interventionist, or I think we need to look at that because this has been, I don't know, 3-4 years, and I hear it's hard to get off of.
Yeah.
So
So-
we need to step up and do something so that
It's,
they have an extra person or some more help.
and they have shown growth in a lot of areas, it's just that state assessment, so we're focusing on that now, and then we'll follow the advice of KLN. Get my acronyms right. KLN, and they, if they feel like that's what we need,
KLN, is that what you said, KLN?
KLN, they're helping us to.
But is there anything that you think, you're there, you know the kids, you see what goes on? I mean, I would think you might know more than somebody else. I don't mean to put you on the spot, so.
It's one of those things that as the process kind of gets going, we'll learn more. Right now, it's kind of hard to tell, because we just restarted the process. And we're starting with a fresh group, like our KLN team, we've only met with, an official meeting with them one time to discuss, plans moving forward and stuff like that. So, in the near future, hopefully we'll know more about what kind of support we need.
I just wanna make sure, get what they need.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
Okay, and the final item in our discussion is the reschedule the March BoE meeting.
Yes, I sent out an email to you guys regarding this, and then got lots of different responses back, and then I realized it would just be a lot easier if we had a discussion in the room, so that I don't accidentally make a decision and affect everybody's lives. So I wanted to check on that. I had a recommendation to move that since it was on spring break, in case anybody on the board wants to, do something with their family. It's a time that kids and families are off, and so March 6th, as far as Mondays, which is when we typically do this, it doesn't mean we have to do it then. March 6th is the Monday before. March 20th is the Monday after, so those are two options, and then we could, if anybody else has another date that is not a Monday that they're interested in, then we'd be happy to discuss that. I know some of you were fine either way, didn't care, and then some of you were swaying a little bit, so just wanted to see if we could make a meeting date.
I can't be here on the 6th. I said I could, then I changed. Remember, I told you I would, I like that day the best.
Right.
I don't now.
Okay, so you like the 20th. Okay. Anybody else? I know some of you were good either way. Are you good with the 20th? It's the Monday after?
I don't hear any negatives, so we'll try that.
Okay. Got it. That's all I need. Thank you.
Okay. Administrative reports.
We had our annual Special K basketball game against Derby. I don't know if you saw the news bit on that, but very well attended, and just a great time to celebrate our student body as a whole. And our students did very well, and it was just a lot of fun to experience my first one. I've been in other buildings, other districts that have that, and they don't do it that way. They have it over lunch hour, and if kids want to go attend, they can. Not, they don't get out of class for it, so it's just a neat thing that our district does.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's my first year. It was great. I won't ever miss it again.
Oh, I won't ever miss it. It's so fun. If you ever have the opportunity, it's fantastic.
It's amazing. You guys have anything you want to share? Any questions for administration that are here? Middle school's got ball games tonight.
Okay. Moving on, executive session.
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session, discuss non-elected personnel for 15 minutes to include Adam Hatfield, the administrative team. The regular meeting will resume at 9:15 p.m. Yeah, but there's a good looking.
Give us a break.
A second.
Got a motion, got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay.
Just some cute pictures.
Wait a little bit, right on that level.
My son is Thomas Train.
Oh,
He is 2.5. And my husband, when he was in middle school, high school, he helped him out. So we still have this thing in the scale marker. And so it's hard for my husband to get this thing out. And so no, it's in the garage because it's like 4 foot by 8 foot. And he's gone to town on it. And we even now we have a little Thomas the Train. Thomas the Train.
Go on the track.
That pulls the cars around.
There were some you could find in actually.
Yeah, this one, I mean, it goes,
We're back in
cars,
the
it's a little bit
Yes.
changing.
Yep.
Okay, we are back in open session, no action was taken. And the next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Okay, approve the minutes of the January 9th meeting and the January 23rd special meeting. Approve payroll and bills. Payroll, $1,092,954.42. Bills, $1,849,142.00. Transfers, vocations, $50,000 and at-risk, $150,000. Personnel, approve new hires. Natasha Gurley, para and bus transportation for Eisenhower. Cheyenne Howe, registrar and athletic secretary for the high school. Nicholas Duncan, custodian for the high school. Alexander Mashburn, custodian, high school. Taylor McLaughlin, assistant track coach for the high school. Brendan Pauley, assistant softball coach for the high school. McKenna Adams, assistant softball coach for the high school. And Millicent Angleton, assistant softball coach for the high school. Approve resignations. Sandra Chamberlain, registrar athletic secretary for the high school. Taryn Nichols, secretary for Lincoln. Felicia Williams, functional sped para for Lincoln. Allison Blackney, para, Lincoln. Kim Heffley, counselor at Washington. Jaylyn Ledesma, assistant track coach for the high school. Tracy Shaw, math teacher at high school. And James Hayes, math teacher at the high school.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll, the minutes from last week. I'll consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve those.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay, moving on to board comments. Let's start over there.
I got to help with the Sumner County Spelling Bee that Cindy Tracy puts on every year. It's really, really nice. I enjoy it. And there are a lot more kids this year than last year. It's kind of picking up since COVID.
You know how to spell all the words.
I always think I'm a pretty good speller, but
I know you help with that every
yeah, I like it. Basketball's fun. Nothing to say. I'm good. Shock.
It's nice to see the survey get put out. It's not perfect, but it's something, and I think it's the way forward. So I hope everybody will take it one time. You can't. Please don't.
I know, I thought we were gonna, I thought we were gonna have that. I didn't have that.
She can go through afterwards, and if it has multiple answers from the same email address, then she can take those.
There's no email address.
Or from the same
IP.
IP, yes, thank
So
you,
you
sorry.
can have two from there, like me and Robert can go to it.
Yes, thank you.
Just lots, okay.
I want to say thank you to Mr. Ewing for making a really nice tech report this month. It was actually pretty well formatted, so that's all I have.
Only thing I got is, I believe the FFA benefit banquet, I think, is next Monday, so if you get a chance, swing by. I think they're gonna have some pretty good auction items, and I think there's a dinner, like 5:30, if I remember right. That's about it.
I don't have anything.
I, of course, have one more thing. I just want to congratulate Daniel on his new job, and I'm
Yes,
excited that it's
congratulations.
close, so you don't have to move your family, and, you know,
It'll be good.
I'm real happy for you.
Thank you.
We're excited for him.
And with that, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.